So let's talk about now how to fight back and how to win, because I just told you what not to do, which is if you feel like you're being canceled, listen, if you screw something up really bad, you're like a serial killer and you're busted, yeah, you probably should be canceled. But for episodes like this new craze where everybody's canceled for everything, do not apologize. Make it's a waste of your time. Why would you do it? So I now just told you what not to do. Here's what we do. Was it Tommy Boy? I need a culture expert around here. Joe's good with music, but he's okay with movies, but not that great. Is that a fair assessment, Joe? I'm not insulting you, am I?
Yeah.
You're not like, Joe's not Mr. Movie. Yeah, me, us either. But I'm pretty sure Chris Farley, God rest his soul, in Tommy Boy, it may have been Tommy Boy or the one that came after that. I call it the that's your theory approach. If you've seen the movie, you know where I'm going. Joe has no idea what I'm talking about. Either does Paul or anyone else. But in the movie, every time someone insults Chris Farley, who plays this happy dunce in the movie, who inherits this company from his dad and doesn't know what to do with it, every time someone insults him, he just goes, that's your theory. It doesn't mean anything, but it's the perfect response to everything. When you see the movie, you'll laugh and you'll think of this show. This is the new approach to cancel culture for everyone. No apologies. And that's your theory. That's your response for everything. And laugh it off. Oh, damn, that doesn't work. Really? Let's go back to Saul Alinsky's rules. Saul Alinsky, famous radical leftist organizer, scion of the left. The left has used Alinsky's, 13 rules forever to organize very sophisticated attacks against conservatives, libertarians, and MAGA supporters. What are his rules? Well, how does cancel culture work? Let's go back to Alinsky rule here. Number one, I'm going to go to 3 of them here. Here's number 1 of 3 we're going to talk about today. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. That's what they do, right? Gina Carano became a target. Disney Plus Mandalorian actress, and who we believe to be a conservative. She may not be, but based on some of her posts where she does this crazy thing, Joe, supporting liberty and freedom and asking questions, verboten amongst the cancer. I know, very bad amongst the cancer culture crowd. So how did they do it? Well, of the multitude of targets they had available that day, the radical left decided to pick Gina Carano. Freeze it. Don't let her off the hook. Go to Twitter, Facebook, all of your biased social media, non-Section 230 compliant platforms. Freeze her in place and attack. Personalize it. Tell stories about how Gina Carano, daring to ask questions about mask usage, has personally led to the death of your grandma, whatever. They probably make most of these stories up. Of course, the connection is totally ridiculous, but they make it personal. I used to say when I ran for office, the left is very good about making things bleed. Bleed, in other words, feel alive. Anything. Make it real. Make it so you pinch it and it's like you can almost feel it. The left is great at that. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. Polarize it. Create poles, like a magnet. You're either with us or you're against us. How do they do that? Folks, it's genius. And for you not to adopt the tactic, you'd be foolish yourself. You say things like, if Disney Plus continues to let Gina Carano play Cara Dune in The Mandalorian and act and make a living as an actress, they are definitely anti-science and they're anti-Semitic too. Because Gina Carano posted a statement about the dangers of Nazi Germany and groupthink. Well, that connection seems a little weird that she would be anti-Semitic, warning about the effects of anti-Semitism. It doesn't matter if it's real, folks. All that matters is you make it up and you make it convincing in your efforts to gaslight. Thank you, movie dude, who sent me this. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. You just made it up. What matters is you polarize it. You're either with us and you fire Gina Carano, one poll, or you're an anti-Semite. Huh? What the hell? So how do we take the Tommy Boy, that's your theory approach to that? Well, we go to one of Saul Alinsky's other rules. Yeah, this is the same set of rules. Quote, Alinsky, a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. Well, if you don't answer and you don't apologize and people like Disney just ignore this, well, what happens? You've unfroze the target. Your polarizing isn't working. Either is your personalization. The tactic starts to drag on, and it becomes a real drag because it gets boring after a while. Folks, if you're not memorizing Alinsky's rules and using them in this fight we're in now, you are making an enormous tactical mistake. For the moral failings of the man, his rules were genius. And memorizing his rules is the equivalent of a modern-day SWOT analysis. Not SWAT like special weapons and tactics like police force. SWOT, S-W-O-T. For those of you who've gone to business school, it's one of the few things. I learned a lot in business school. It's one of the few things you can use to develop a matrix, to develop strategies for your business. And it works if you do it right. The S and the W in SWOT analysis stands for strengths and weaknesses. And the essence of a SWOT analysis is how to leverage and take advantage of your strengths, to take advantage of opportunities and mitigate threats. But it's also how to mitigate weaknesses, to forestall opportunities others may have, and to cut off threats. Learning Alinsky's rules fits into the SWOT matrix. One, you can use the rules because they work as a strength. But secondly, one of your weaknesses, you've been subjected to the rules. We've been picked, polarized, and canceled. If you knew the rules in advance and that's a weakness, you can mitigate the threats from it because you know what's coming and you know how to make the tactic drag on and make it a drag. Folks, I'm sorry. This is not like me trying to put myself on some kind of faux pedestal, but there are not enough people in the conservative content creation space right now talking about this. There's a lot of complaining going on, but there's not a lot of like, well, what are they doing? How is it their strength? How is it a weakness for us? How do we make it our strength? And how do we mitigate the weakness by having it used against us? That's tactics. And once we expose the weakness of their position, Gina Carano's an anti-Semite, totally, completely fabricated, made up. She is an anti-Semite. That was the point of her post. Once we expose it, how fake and phony, and we don't apologize, and we make them drag it out over and over and over, it will do what? It will expose the weakness of their position that they thought was a strength, their ability to cancel people. Which brings up Alinsky rule number 3 today. There's a lot of them, but we'll cover just 3 today. Don't ever forget this one. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. It's a strength for our ideological opponents, us thinking they can cancel us at any minute, even though their power is a bunch of kids in their basement on social media tweeting to Disney. Well, what happens when that's exposed? And when a company with guts, unlike Disney, doesn't cancel a Gina Carano, and they realize not only doesn't it, not affect their bottom line at all, but they'll probably get new viewers on Disney Plus if they hadn't done what they did, because people would be like, wow, that was pretty cool. They stood up to the mob for once. It'll dismantle the house of cards these leftists have been living on the entire time, which is their faux power. Their power is not real. It's fake because they live by the Alinsky rule that power is not what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. And too many people for too long think this is actual organized leftist power. It's a joke.